These Ipswich Town players are defying the odds.
Okay, welcome back to TWTV, where you join me, Jim Cooper, for another video verdict, where we're providing you with hopefully independent, immediate and compelling information about town games. And we're looking back at the game at the St Mary's today. Southampton won, Ipswich won. And I'm joined by Phil and Callum from TWTD, who are in the St Mary's press area. How you doing, guys? You okay?
Not so bad, thank you.
Good. Well, you look slightly happier than I would have expected at about 90 minutes because, we've basically pulled it back. 95th minute equalizer from our Egyptian king, Sam Morsy. I was in Zagreb last week, very random. I'm now over enemy lines in deepest, darkest Norfolk. And you find me in Cromer, which I think you've been to recently as well, Callum, having done a very long cycle from Norwich. And I gave the peloton the joys of listening to Town TV and the punditry of Mickey Stockwell, who was actually excellent. He really provided some good insights. And Phil, really the overview of the game, I think Mickey's view was probably the lowest quality game of the season so far. And maybe we had a defensive lapse, and again with the Premier League, some quality from Lallana kind of unlocked us, and also maybe we didn't have some drive. This was a good opportunity to get a win at St Mary's. We got 46% possession, 13 shots, which is good, 6 on target, 10 corners. What's your view of the game, Phil? I was reading your match report and the end paragraphs very much saying that, we clawed this back. And give us your view of the game, please, Phil.
I thought the first half, we started very, very brightly before their goal. I mean, it's difficult to I know they scored in the 5th minute, didn't they? But we were very much on the front foot and their goal came against the run of play, really, with their first serious attack, as you say. And Kieran McKenna in his press conference made reference to a bit of Lallana quality. That sort of unlocked our defence. But other than that, the first 25 minutes was all us, really. And we'd had 1 or 2 opportunities. Smodic had a chance, didn't he, that he put wide. We created a number of chances, really, before half-time. Amari Hutchinson's shot that Ramsdale saved very well. Davis, I think, had another opportunity that he might have done better with. I think that we're looking back over the games that we've had so far. And I know, obviously, they've been quite difficult games in a number of cases, but we have had chances. And I think Town would probably like to have taken more of the opportunities that they've had over the course of those games. But other than the goal that they scored in the first half, I can't really remember them having too many opportunities. Well, and of course the one when I can't think of his name, Cameron Archer went through and hit the post. But I think actually that was defended very well by Jacob Greaves, and Muric I thought did very well. And I suspect the VAR might have picked up on the challenge earlier on in the move on Liam Delap, because it didn't look like a particularly good challenge.
Phil, just coming in there, I think you're right. They were saying on the commentary that, for the first half of the first half, we had the higher possession, and that's, Southampton are quite a high possession team.
Yeah,
and I think
Kieran
we really,
Kieran said that that's the first time we've done that against Southampton. I mean, it was interesting. I thought we had more of the game today against Southampton than we did in either of the games last year when we beat them. Certainly the game down here, right? It was literally a year ago yesterday, wasn't it? Or a year ago on Thursday. That when Amari Hutchinson scored the goal, they really, on another day, they could have won very comfortably. They created a number of chances, but they just didn't take them. And we obviously we got one opportunity. We took it on that occasion. They took their chance today in the first half during a period when we were very much in the ascendancy. And Kieran again said that we've not really had a phase of possession like that since we've been promoted, and which I think is a fair point. Second half was a bit scrappier, I think. I think they had more of they were probably on top during the majority of the half, but they didn't have a huge number of clear-cut chances during that period. I think we've shown there's been a kind of theme that we've talked about throughout the season, really, is limiting the opposition to very few, and actually in pre-season as well, going back as far as Shakhtar, limiting very good opposition to very few chances, which is something, or serious chances, which is something that we will need to do as the season goes through. But again, we didn't really create too many. So we had Smodic had a chance right at the beginning of the half, didn't he? Which I think he probably should have taken. I think he'll feel that he had three chances. I know one of them was flagged offside, but he probably will feel that he didn't make enough of any of those opportunities. But we didn't really create strong chances again until towards the end, when George Hurst had a good opportunity that he flicked wide, and then he had the other header that Ramsdale saved very, very well. And then right at the end, of course, we had the goal from that corner. So I think that we had opportunities, and Kieran said afterwards that he felt that we kind of left chances out there, that there were more chances to be created from opportunities. And I think that's something, again, that we've seen over the games this season. We've had opportunities where we've broken on opposition. We've not really made enough of those opportunities. And we know in a lot of games that they're going to be far and few between. So,
well, I think that's it, isn't it, Phil? Like, we're in the Premier League now. You get punished for defensive errors, and you've got to take your chances. And I think the Smodic chance that it sounded was a good one. Talk us through their goal, Phil. Was it as much as defensive lapse as the commentary was making out? It seemed to be both. I think it was Axel, who'd obviously we've been waxing about last week. It sounded like was it his error or?
He broke up an attack and then played the ball straight to a Southampton player. It was then moved on and then moved to Lallana, who spotted a pass and played the ball between Jacob Greaves and Leif Davis, and it was finished very, very confidently by the young lad from Southampton. So yes, as you say, you in the Premier League, lapses and errors will get punished, and on that occasion, it was punished.
And maybe, Phil, that first half Southampton performance, there was question marks over their goalkeeper at the start. Was he having a bit of a wobble as well? You know, I think when you're against Southampton and maybe they're not at their best, maybe it was a chance to really strike in that first half. Do you think? Did we have enough energy? Would you say in the forward line for that first half?
I think so. I think there was the pressing early on forced them into errors. There was one situation. I can't remember. It was after quite a good chance. I can't remember what the chance was now, but they took a goal kick and it was played straight out to Flynn Downs, and Jens Karius, he out-battled Flynn Downs, really. I thought the referee gave a free kick and he ultimately missed the chance anyway. But yeah, we were sort of stopping them playing out in that first half. Maybe the intensity of that kind of reduced as the game went on and as players tired. But I think as you say, I think if we'd got an early goal, if it'd been us that got the early goal, because they'd obviously not picked up a point before today, you could sense that their crowd might get a bit restless at times, I thought.
I was wondering, I mean, what was the atmosphere like, Phil? Because I did think that obviously they've had a poor start to the season. You know, could we have turned the crowd on them? What was their home support like?
Well, it was, to be honest, outsung by ours largely, I have to say. Really, from the beginning, the crowd you could hear was Town supporters, wasn't it? And I mean, they were, I think they were quite frustrated. I think there were one or two muted boos at half time, weren't there? I think, or at the end. I do remember hearing some at some point. Because I think their expectations, as we said before, are probably slightly higher than ours coming into this season, because they were a Premier League club prior to their 1 year in the Championship. So they've got this infrastructure and everything that's more established for the Premier League than ours. So
I mean, it was interesting listening to the Blue Monday podcast, or the preview on Thursday. It was a good show. They were talking about their transfer activity had almost been just it hadn't taken them forward, if that makes sense. They bought a lot of players who they'd bought in the Championship, like Downs was brought in permanently, if you know what I mean. And I think they felt our transfer business was a bit more advanced, if you know what I mean. And so that goes slightly against maybe the expectation of the fans. Let's move on to the lineup, Callum. Can we obviously walk through the team, but as we go through, can you just sort of describe, in your view, the performances of each of the players? And obviously the big talking about point was the injury to Phillips and the bringing in of Kajuste. I'm very interested to hear how he got on, Callum. But just walk us through the team and give us some of your views of the performances, please.
So, to be honest, I didn't see too many standout performers. If I'm honest, I think it was a lot of sixes and sevens in the side. I was struggling to pick a man of the match up until Sam Morsy did me a favour in stoppage time. It made my decision for me. We'll start on the two midfielders, Morsy and Kajuste. I thought he was okay. I thought probably nothing more, probably nothing less. I thought a lot of the play, or when we were trying to get a lot of the play, a lot of it came sort of in the wider area. So it was possibly more difficult for the two midfielders to get involved in the play as much as we usually would. Muric was obviously in goal. It was the same back four we saw of Davis, Greaves, O'Shea and Tuanzebe. Obviously, Axel, we've touched on, kind of gave the ball away for the goal after winning the ball.
Sorry to cut in there, Ken. How was O'Shea today? Because I think he was involved a little bit in their goal as well. And obviously he's keeping Wolfenden's not making the matchday squad, which is quite something for such an important player for us. How was he today?
At times I thought he was shaky. At times I thought he was good and showed his pace, which is clearly one of his biggest attributes. He had an opportunity as well from a header from a corner, I think, at some stage. But yeah, there was one time where I think Cameron Archer got the wrong side of him, and Muric had to bail him out on that occasion with a good sort of save, came out well and made himself big.
Yeah.
But in possession, I thought they were okay. It was quite difficult because Southampton were pressing quite high. We were pressing quite high. It was a very sort of high press kind of game. I think both sides were kind of looking to pounce on mistakes of the other team, which we had quite a lot of joy from early on. But I think Southampton caused most of their problems and indeed the goal from doing that to us. So I think it was quite difficult, probably for both sets of defences, to deal with the press. And then the forward line, if we just touch on that, again, I didn't think there were too many standout performers. Schmodic's had quite a few moments, which Phil's touched on a moment ago, which he'll definitely feel he should have done better. I thought Wes Burns was probably the best outlet down the right. But yeah, Delap threw himself around as he does, but I don't remember him getting any sort of clear-cut opportunities in the game to score.
So yeah, I mean, that point I made earlier, is it our lowest quality performance, do you think, so far?
Yeah, I'd probably go with that, but I'd probably say it's probably the lowest quality opposition we've come up against as well. I thought both sides were definitely not at their best. I don't think it was a brilliant game in that in that respect. I actually thought Town were the better team in the first half, in which we conceded in, and Southampton were probably the better team in the second half, in which we scored in.
That was what Mick Stockwell was saying. The same. He was saying that it was a weird one, that we were the better side, as Phil mentioned earlier, and yet we were the goal behind. Let's move on to the subs, Phil. I can get back to you. And interesting, just to come back to Kajuste, it's, when you listen on the radio, it's not the ideal way to take in a game, but you just didn't hear his name mentioned many times, Callum. You know what I mean? That's almost a sign of that, not that involvement. But Phil, let's move on to the subs. Hurst had that flick header, I think, that didn't have enough power by the sounds of it. How did the subs get on today? How was Clark? And did they make a difference?
Clark was very quiet until just a couple of minutes before the goal, really. I think, he struggled. I think they struggled to get him into the game. I think he's a player that needs to be sort of fed the ball rather than he's someone who's going to kind of play himself into a game. And he clipped a crossover, didn't he? Just which was the one that Hurst headed goalwards and Ramsdale tipped over, which led to the corner from which we scored. So yes, from his perspective, 8 out of 10. His job was to come on and help get us an equalizer. So that's what he did. Elsewhere, I'm not. Hurst, I thought, did make quite a. I mean, the header, the earlier header, I thought Hurst should have made more of, and I think he'll feel that he should have made more of. It just sort of flicked off his head, whereas I think more of a contact, and it would have been a goal. But yeah, I don't think the subs made quite the impact that they have done in other games. But at the same time, when you look at the sort of narrative of the game, we were going into in the final. You could say it was a game of two halves. In that I think I agree with Callum and Mick Mills said exactly the same thing. I was chatting to him earlier as well. That we were the better side in the first half. They were the better side in the second half. But if you sort of put it into kind of three thirds, the sort of with the final third being that kind of last sort of 7 or 8 minutes of normal time and injury time, we were very much on top during that period, and we were the ones pushing for a goal during that period. And we had one or two chances during that period, even prior to Sam Morsy. And we were actually talking about this on the way here, sort of referencing back to the Jeremy Sarmiento goal against Southampton last season, and the number of times that we scored goals late on to draw or to win. It's not a fluke. It's not.
It's a culture. It's a mindset, isn't it?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think, isn't it funny how Southampton, Sarmiento, Limbs, and today. I mean, I think this is a massive goal. I think you want to be getting 4 points at least off Southampton this season. Yeah, 1 away, 3 at home. It's essential for our survival, I think. Mm-hmm. And it was sounding grim. And then the Egyptian king stood up, Callum. You've taken a very good photo of the Limbs, which we'll put up on Twitter. And also Adam's taken a great photo of the Limbs as well. What was it like? I mean, it sounded brilliant on the radio.
Yeah, it was a good moment. And Phil's just touched on about the sort of resilience and it's not by luck. And that was actually an exact quote that Sam told me after the game. He was talking about the team's resilience and how important it's going to be again this season. And about how it clearly isn't by fluke, which some of the outsiders were sort of brandishing in our direction last season. And we're going to need that again this year. Sort of never say die attitude to fight till the end and turn draw defeats where we may be trailing by a goal into the odd point that they all add up at the end of the season. And it's not just a point gained for us. That goal's taken 2 away from Southampton, who are likely going to be one of our rivals down there. So it's a big goal, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a big goal. And then let's start to close out by looking at the results around us. It's a big goal because, frankly, we're not in the relegation zone. Yeah. We've managed to stay in 17th. Crystal Palace are hanging on against Man U. So we're in 17th place at the moment. So we're outside the relegation zone. It's fantastic. The other games around, West Ham, who we play fairly soon, lost badly at home to Chelsea. So possibly a positive for when we visit London in the next few weeks. Villa, our opponents next week, is going to be a tough one. Maybe started with a bit of a hangover of the Champions League, but they came back from 1 down against some of our rivals, Wolves, and won 3-1. Fulham beat Newcastle 3-1. Again, our other survival rivals, Leicester and Everton, drew 1-1. Everton were up there. So again, another little bit of a kick in the teeth, maybe giving that lead away. But I think Leicester would have wanted to win that, wouldn't they? Liverpool thrashed Bournemouth 3-0. Spurs came back to beat Brentford 3-1, and Palace and Man U are 0-0 at the moment, I believe. So I think that's really the big takeaway for me is, we've clawed a 95th winner out, and it keeps us out of the relegation zone. I do think, we need a point per game, don't we, guys? And we're not on that at the moment. A win today would have got us to 1 point per game. So we just need to look ahead. But, to stay out of the relegation zone is fantastic, I think, for another week. So let's close it out. We've got a very tough test against Villa. Looking forward to being at the ground for that one for a change and not being off in some strange parts of the world like Norfolk. But looking forward to seeing you both there, and we'll return for another TWTV then.
Thank you.
Safe travel back to Suffolk, guys. Take care.
Cheers, Jim.
Cheers. Bye.